Hey YouTube, this is PegTech, and today we're going to do a little work on the tiny island tank. Now, this is something I set up. I think we're coming up on 2 years. It'll be 2 years on August 17th, my birthday. So this is a tank that has evolved quite a bit since its original inception. If you'll remember, it had a different canopy right here that was replaced by what is effectively one of those cylindrical cheapo aquariums I got at a swap. In fact, someone gave me this aquarium at a swap, and I was like, "Oh, thanks," but I'll probably never use it. It ended up being the perfect thing for this. It's nice and tall. It gives the plants a lot of room to grow upwards and stuff, so that's pretty cool, especially for the cardinal plants. I ended up largely replacing that with replacing the plants at the top here with Anubias and stuff, which tend to stay kind of low, but some of them are starting to be encouraged to grow upwards and stuff too. Another big change I made just recently was the lid. I had made this thing before, which is like the epitome of jank, kind of like. It felt really good about it when I made it initially. Like, I cut this hole a little bit too big, and I put this down for a ledge and stuff like that. And of course, it's sort of hexagon because it was made to go on that other version of the lid. And this is the original lid that came with it. I just basically cut a hole in it. I engineered this little back part so that nothing could crawl out the little gap that's made for the cords and stuff to come through. I took the lights. It had these little lights on both sides, and I attached them both in here. These lights ended up being really terrible. They're not good for growing plants at all. And I didn't really expect them to be. They're kind of a real utilitarian type thing. They're just these little tiny LEDs. And I've attached them here. This whole lid's going in the garbage, though, because now I've got this. This lid is made out of this plastic. It's kind of like plexiglass, but it's not plexiglass. It doesn't bend like a lot of plexiglass does. I've cut a couple of plexiglass lids, and it doesn't cut really well. I was able to get this cut by a friend of mine, and then I finished it off myself. I added a little feeding hole, and a little notch for the light to go. Also, since now I could shoot light through the top of it because this is transparent, I was able to mount this light. This is one of those Fluval smart lights. Then this is one of the older ones. I used to have this Fluval smart light up here, but now I could attach it. So it's been attached right here. I've got this smart light, or this other light up here. This is not a smart light. This is one of the older dumb ones. It just happens to be the same shape. But this is from the Fluval Flora era of Fluval lights. So with that bad lighting that was initially on this side, I was not able, like, this side's great. All the plants are doing fine and everything looks great. And this side had just terrible algae in it. So now with a new lid and a new look, better light and stuff, I thought it'd be a great time to go ahead and rescape this tank and go ahead and make it look a little bit better. It's got a terrible hair algae problem that often comes when you've got like the wrong spectrum of light, especially. It doesn't help any. That hair algae doesn't care what spectrum of light, whereas Anubias and other little plants definitely do. So here's the rundown of my half rescape and a good look at all these other components. All right, so it's still a little foggy in here, and that's mostly because some of the dragonstone that I put in there, I forgot to notice that it was brand new and it hadn't been cleaned thoroughly yet. Or what it was is I cleaned it thoroughly, I broke it apart, and then forgot to clean it again. So that's a little trick to know. With dragonstone, it's got mud all through the inside of it too. So if you break it apart into smaller pieces, you got to go back and rewash it to get all that stuff from inside of that rock cleaned out. So it'll have little veins of mud all the way through it. So just so you know. I think the combination of using this bonsai tree with these little tiny anubias, I'm not sure what species of anubias this is, but it seems to have really, really tiny leaves. And if this really picks up, I think that this is going to look gorgeous in here. Right now it's a little janky, in the way anubias always is when you kind of jam it into a bunch of little spots and stuff. But once it starts to grow, if everything works out the way I'm hoping it will, and it starts to grow really well, this should be a really, really beautiful little display here on this side. I've really enjoyed having the Mexican dwarf crayfish in here. They're really bright and colorful. They really stand out and stuff, and they go well with the shrimp and the stuff that are in here. I guess they could predate on the shrimp somewhat, but I haven't seen a big problem with that as of yet. And folks, that's all I got for you today. Just a real quick one. I have planted the shaker, and it is going through its terrible 2 weeks. The diatoms have set in, the crypts are melting, it's a mess. It'll look good eventually though, and when that does, then I'll show it to you. And I'll tell you about all the drama in between, because these aquarium projects are never as smooth as they look on video. There's always problems, there's always issues, and boy, I had some major ones. Some quite embarrassing ones too. Till next time, follow your bliss, keep a clean take, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.